Welcome into Yahoo Sports Daily. Happy Wednesday. I'm Caroline Fenton. He is Justin Walters filling in for Jason Fitz today. Justin, so happy to have you back here on the show. So we want to start today with a question for you. And that is, are some of the big time legacies in sports and entertainment, are their legacies taking massive hits? Because this week has made us second guess the standing of the reputation of some of the biggest names that we've all grown up loving and admiring and idolizing. You know, the fat heads and the posters of these athletes that we all had in our childhood bedrooms growing up, or the jerseys that you buy with the first time you get some big time adult money. So let's start with the biggest name, not just one of the biggest, if not the biggest names in the sport of basketball, but the biggest story of the last couple of weeks, the biggest story, surely, of NBA free agency, and that is LeBron James. We'll ask, is his legacy intact, or is it see you later? Look, no doubt that LeBron has stretched out this free agency decision as long as humanly possible. Doesn't look like we're going to get a decision really anytime soon, but we're keeping our fingers crossed. So LeBron stretching out this decision, legacy intact or see you later?
Legacy is definitely intact. Anything extra that we get from LeBron right now is just icing on the cake. Think about it like Thanksgiving leftovers. That first day, Thanksgiving food is always hitting, but like day 3 or 4, like that's not really supposed to be what Thanksgiving is for. Like it's an enjoyable meal for that time. So him entering into year 24, anything extra is certainly going to be beyond our expectations for what he has come into the league. Those three teams that he has down to the final mix. Carolina, I know you saw this. I woke up to the news and I was like, maybe the Miami Heat knows something that we don't. Maybe the social media team
Mm-hmm.
saw something. We're going to get into that, but the legacy most certainly is intact. Everything that LeBron has given us has been beyond expectations. He is a showman. He's going to drag this out. It is the summer. I know you spoke about this with Coley. There was no way he was going to announce this during the World Cup. He wants to be
No
the
way.
center of attention. But I'm more intrigued not about where he goes, Caroline. It's how he announces the decision. He sat down at the YMCA for decision one. We also have him coming back to Cleveland, and that was certainly a spectacle in itself, and that was a letter. He also has the press release that he released with Clutch Sports. How does he do it now? Is it simply just a tweet on X? Is it going to be a whole video production through his team uninterrupted? I'm really intrigued by that. In addition to, does he have more than 1 year? I think he has 2 years. I don't think this is going to be the swan song.
I see, that's what I don't know. I kind of just assumed that this was going to be his final season. But I think we know, it feels like today, that this is going to be his final announcement, that wherever he goes next, if it is a multiple year deal, if he does play for more than 1 year, it'll probably be in that one spot. It is a fair point to bring up how he announces. I don't think it's going to be as simple as a tweet. I don't think it's going to be as simple as Shams tweets it out and, breaks the news. I think it's going to be something much more orchestrated, much more calculated, much more thoughtful. I think it will be, something that with a lot of production value, something that has taken a lot of time and a lot of thought, because that's what LeBron has done in the past. He's not the kind of guy that lets Shams break this news. He's the kind of guy that does it his own way. And frankly, I kind of love that. I kind of love the production value and the theatricality that LeBron brings to all of his decisions. But if you think that LeBron's legacy is taking a hit because he's taking his sweet time with his decision, that's a you problem. That is not a LeBron problem. Because LeBron, he's doing the offseason thing. He's taking his time. He's leaving everybody on the edge of his seats for his decision. He has every right to do that. He has every right. As one of the best, if not the best players in the history of the sport of basketball, I think he's earned the right to take his time for a little bit. Now, do I want him to make a decision today? Of course I do. I wanted LeBron to make a decision last week because I want to know, and because I want to talk about it here on this show, because I want to serve our listeners and our viewers of Yahoo Sports Daily. But again, that's a me thing. That's a me problem. We're all getting impatient, but that's not necessarily LeBron's fault or anything that should or would or ever could damage his legacy. So I think once he makes this decision, then we're all going to just take a collective sigh of relief and a collective breath and know what the future holds for the king. But what about this one? Legacy intact or legacy later for Tom Brady? He's been publicly
Mm.
feuding with Logan Paul. We saw the bird that they flipped to one another at the World Cup. I didn't see this feud coming. I don't want this feud. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I frankly don't really care about it. But an NFL owner took the quick cash for a PR stunt. Is essentially what Tom Brady is doing here, is what it feels like at least. Legacy intact or legacy later?
Caroline, I think about the last time I was on Yahoo Sports Daily, and we got the joy and pleasure of doing a rendition and parody of First Take. And I'm going to go back to that. As the wise prophet, also known as Stephen A. Smith, once said, we don't care. The legacy is intact,
We
but
do not
who
care.
asked for this? We just don't care. Like, this feels so ungoat like. When you think about the greatest of all time in their respective sports, there's like a mysterious ambiance. There's a mystique that surrounds them. And sometimes it's because you have less exposure. Tom Brady is different, obviously being a part-time owner with the Raiders as well as a Fox broadcaster, but there feels like something that's too much that he's giving us. And I think because he has too much time on his hands right now, go take a trip. Like, this serves Jake Paul so much more, and the Paul brothers and Logan Paul. Like, there's no reason why he should be feuding with them at all. At all. It feels like it's a buildup now for a WWE fight. I don't know what the climax is going to be, what it's going to culminate into, but at this point, I just really don't care. And it's not serving both parties. I don't know how this is mutually beneficial for Tom Brady, but he has time on his hands. He's going to the Fanatics Fan Fest. I know they were beefing because they were speaking about what an athlete actually looks like when it comes to the flag football rendition that they had that was broadcasted. And Paul was like, yeah, I'm also an athlete just like them. I just don't care. This doesn't live in my head rent free. Anytime I see a headline for it, I scroll past it.
I think there's a difference between legacy and reputation right now or perception right now. You're not touching the legacy of Tom Brady. He won 7 Super Bowls, is the GOAT, right? Tom Brady set the standard for quarterbacks in the National Football League. That's not gonna just go away overnight. But the perception right now of Tom Brady is kind of what you just mentioned. It's confusing, it's inconsistent. He's built his brand on, being obsessed with your health, with discipline. Okay, but now he's doing commercials with Pizza Hut. There's nothing wrong with Pizza Hut, but Tom Brady is the one who didn't eat strawberries because he didn't think that they were healthy enough. That Tom Brady was the one that was all about, the work and no distractions. And now here he is flipping off Logan Paul at a World Cup match. Like, we're talking about Logan Paul. Like, it's like Logan Paul's like a really rich influencer, at least in my mind. I don't even know the difference between the Paul brothers. I know Tom Brady. So it all kind of just feels beneath him. It feels like Tom Brady and his brand and what he's built is just kind of better than what he's been doing, yeah, at least publicly over the last several weeks. So legacy is very much so still intact, but the perception of him right now is at least making me raise an eyebrow. Let's go outside of the sports world a little bit, though, and hit Will Ferrell. His Netflix golf comedy, The Hawk, has a 29% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. He added nothing, frankly, in my opinion, to the Home Run Derby on Netflix. Has he lost his fastball? I grew up loving Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell has so many comedy classics, but have his projects of late hurt his legacy? Legacy intact or legacy later?
I don't think they've hurt his legacy, and specifically in terms of has he lost his fastball? No, it just has a different velocity. As you get a little longer in the tooth, and comedy is one of those things where you try to touch a third rail, you throw things out there, hopefully it sticks on the wall. It's very difficult. We know Will Ferrell is a legend. Legacy is intact. Go back to SNL, Step Brothers, Obviously Talladega Nights, Ricky Bobby, Jackie Moon, the list goes on and on. Elf, which is my sister-in-law's favorite movie. She always wants
Classic.
to watch it every single Christmas. Certainly is a classic. But comedy is one of those things, it's hard to cross over from generation to generation. And sometimes you're relatable to folks. Sometimes the material just doesn't stick. Am I gonna be upset because he got a bad thing on Rotten Tomatoes? No, you have to keep it moving. That's what any actor or comedian is going to do. Sometimes you have bad stand-ups, you test out new material. Sometimes they go well, sometimes they don't, and then you take notes. But Will Ferrell is still certainly a comedic genius and has delivered so many things based off of his resume. Just a few of the things I was able to point at. He's perfectly fine, but is certainly having, maybe if you'd call it, a tough season.
He looks different. That's not Will Ferrell. That's a Florida man. That is not, Jackie Moon. That is not Ricky Bobby. The legacy very much so intact. You just mentioned some of the classics. I mean, Step Brothers, the other
Anchorman,
guys,
I forgot
all of
about
the
that.
Anchorman, yes, and all of the legendary characters that he played on SNL when he did Harry Carey. I've loved SNL ever since I can remember. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a Spartan cheerleader for Halloween one year. That's the impact that Will Ferrell has had on me ever since that I was a kid. So I can't say that his legacy is taking a hit. So legacy very much so intact. But I will say this. I mean, I love comedy movies. I love Will Ferrell movies, always have. I didn't even know that he had a new movie on Netflix until I opened up Netflix the other night to watch to start Quarterback, that new Netflix series with Jaden Daniels and Cam Ward, with the new season of the Netflix series. So I didn't even know that The Hawk was a thing until I just stumbled upon it and found it organically in the wild when I was seeking out something else. And when I was seeking out something else, I didn't say, "Oh my gosh, new Will Ferrell movie. I'm going to throw Quarterback to the side and watch this movie right now." I was like, huh, okay, great. Now let's watch the new season with Cam Ward, Jaden Daniels, and Joe Flacco and Baker Mayfield. So, legacy is very much so intact, Justin, but it has taken a hit a little bit.
I think Will Ferrell would tell us both, stay classy, San Diego. Stick to the teleprompter and keep it
You
like
stay
that.
classy.
Yeah, I enjoy Will Ferrell, but I do think that also what you need to point out about Will Ferrell or any comedian, a lot of them are acquired tastes. Someone that is in your top four for comedians may not be in my top four. Someone who you like to go see it do a stand-up just may not be that funny. There's also different types of comedy. How many times, Caroline, do we just scroll on our phone and we're cracking up and we're DMing someone a video? Will Ferrell is in part of this new age of comedy. And that's once again not taking away anything from him. But Will Ferrell's not going to be a content creator doing selfie videos or doing some type of skits because he just saw the movie Odyssey, which is a great movie, by the way. But still,
I
I
haven't
just
seen
don't
it
think
yet.
that Will got to see it, must. But I just don't think Will Ferrell is going to ever be part of this new wave of laughter. And that's perfectly
And
fine.
that's fine. It's like Jason Fitz does not like Adam Sandler, and I think that's crazy. I think Adam Sandler's hilarious. It's a lot of
Hmm.
fart humor sometimes, but I mean, Adam Sandler has some classics, so we can
Big
agree to
Daddy.
disagree on that one. Great movie, classic movie. I don't know if Will Ferrell is on Cameo, but that does remind me a very big announcement coming from Yahoo Sports. Yahoo Sports and Cameo just teamed up, and now you can get a celebrity to announce your draft order from right inside the Yahoo Fantasy app. No random number generator, just you, your league, and a celebrity of your choice shouting out to kick off the season right. Join a league now to access Cameo through Yahoo Fantasy Football. Sign up in the Yahoo Fantasy app or at yahoofantasy.com/football. All right, coming up next, Nick Sirianni tipping into all of the resources at his disposal. Do we agree with it?
My sister told me, be careful what you wish for because you might get it. I did. And now it's about, well, what goals are, what's left on the table? I want Street Fighter to be a massive success. I want to do more Guile, but also I want to do more film. I want to do more TV. There's seats on, on the Georgia political scene that are open. Is that a road? Or is this the road to stay with something I love so much like wrestling? And I love this. I don't know how I'd say bye to it.
Sharks down 10. 3rd down and 10 from the 19. Edwards steps up. Now he's in trouble. And Edwards sacked. Back at the 17. And once again, it's Devontae O'Malley. And flipped into the end zone. Touchdown. A thing of beauty. DeLaurent for Murray with a late pitch over the top, end over end, and a Pirates touchdown.
If you are a check writer at one of these places that has achieved success historically in college football, and you are ideologically opposed to your check going directly to Rev, to paying the players, with the ideology of, well, we didn't have to do this back when. When you hear we didn't used to have to do this amongst boosters, go ahead and order the gravestone for your football program.
Still Barnes in there. No Jared Ware on this drive yet. Roberts against the blitz, goes to the end zone for Keon Williams. Easy as you like. 16-yard touchdown.
There's Keon Williams. Tried to go to him in the last drive on that 4th down play to the end zone. Good defense by Orlando, but that time able to shake free to the corner.
Head coach Nick Sirianni used ChatGPT this offseason to keep his message fresh to Eagles players. That included sharing, I can't help but laugh. I'm sorry. That included sharing sports stories with, quote, great relentless effort. Should head coaches be using AI, or does AI not belong in professional sports? There you go. That is guys who think they know ball. Justin, your thoughts on that? What we heard about Nick Sirianni using ChatGPT, asking, ChatGPT for some great, relentless sports stories, finding fresh ways to motivate his team. Are you mad at him for this?
No, not at all. As someone that uses AI every day, I actually respect it. And let me tell you why. First, let's get the elephant addressed. Dude, you got to proofread. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Don't include in the email, oh, please fix any grammatical errors. That's number one. Number two, why I respect this, because it shows, if anything, that he cares and he's trying to connect with so many players in this locker room. It's tough to do that. He also understands going into this season that it's going to be a difficult year for him, knowing AJ Brown is no longer there. Once again, another offensive coordinator for Jalen Hurts. Malachi Lemon is going to be there as a new wide receiver. Expectations are through the roof, but this team believes that Howie Roseman has given him the right options. But going back to Sirianni, I do think that anytime a coach is trying to lean into 2026 and the times that we're in, I'm not knocking it. I would be upset if he just said, hey, chat, give me a relentless, fiery speech for my team, and this is what I'm going to shoot as an email. But what he did was he gave it a prompt, and he actually gave them a base email to make some polished tweaks to. I'm not mad at it, Caroline. I respect it.
I am. I'm mad at it. What does Nick Sirianni do? Like genuinely, I would love to ask that question to anybody in the Eagles organization. What does he
wins.
do? Okay. Nick Sirianni is not an X's and O's expert. Like, Nick Sirianni is not one of these offensive gurus like a Shanahan or a McVay, or a defensive mastermind like a Brian Flores or a Mike McDonald. Not him. And he needs the help of a robot to motivate his team? Because if you are not an X's and O's master or a genius on one side of the football, then you're that figurehead, you're that culture guy, like John Harbaugh was in Baltimore and will be for the Giants, like Dan Campbell is for the Detroit Lions. But I don't think that Dan Campbell got, hey, we're gonna bite you off at the ankles from ChatGPT. I think he got that from his own brain because that's what he's really good at. Culture building, motivating, getting his team all together and rah, rah, go Lions go. So if Nick Sirianni doesn't master the offensive side of the ball, is not a genius on the defensive side of the ball, and has to use the help of an internet robot to motivate his team, then what does he do? I can use ChatGPT to motivate a team. What is he getting paid $6+ million for to do that?
Why
So
don't you ask Chat, what does Nick Sirianni do? Maybe he'll give you a funny answer. What is he good at?
you know what? I will. I have ChatGPT up right now. What does Nick Sirianni do? Let's see what Chat comes up with. Searching the web. Okay, his responsibilities include, I am reading verbatim from ChatGPT. 1, setting the team's culture and standards with the help of ChatGPT, managing the coaching staff. Okay, I mean that is the job of a head coach. Fine. Game management. I don't know. I remember a lot of Eagles game mismanagement last season, making some questionable decisions on 3rd and 4th down last year. Overseeing the offense. The Eagles had the 23rd ranked passing offense in the National Football League last year.
Don't remind
The
me.
offense was a literal crime against humanity and football last year. So
Let
all
me
the
give you
things
the answer that
ChatGPT
Chat isn't going to
is
give
telling
you.
me.
He's a glue.
Please.
He keeps the pieces together. Now, one can debate that sometimes glue gets sticky, and it's probably not the most neat put together. I would prefer Gorilla Glue. Maybe he's more like Elmer's and he's trying to evolve, but he's the glue. He does win. The resume is indisputable, and I do think that at times he shows maturity. But going back to the question, I'm
At
not mad at it. This is the
times,
new age. We use AI in
Justin.
so many different ways. We use AI just for closed captions. I'm not mad at him for actually just saying, hey, what's a good fiery speech that I can do help my team? Let me know your thoughts on this prompt. That's my thoughts. As long as you don't use it
Nick,
for everything.
Nick Sirianni makes $15 million a year. And if he's the glue, then where's AJ Brown? Because the glue came undone last year very publicly for the Philadelphia Eagles. And look, he does win. He won a Super Bowl and has gone to another. The results are absolutely undeniable. But I do believe sometimes rosters are coach proof or can be coach proof. Sometimes you build a roster so well, and Howie Roseman has, that it's like, well, we just need a guy who doesn't screw it up. So maybe Nick Sirianni does get credit, for at least not screwing things up. I also looked at ChatGPT. I used the same prompt that Nick Sirianni used, reportedly, allegedly. The prompt was a great relentless effort true sports story. Here's what ChatGPT had to say. If you're looking for a true sports story centered on relentless effort and perseverance, here are some excellent choices. Would you like to guess the first one that ChatGPT brought up?
Rudy?
Ding, 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 ding. Rudy. Based on the true story of Daniel Rudy Rudiger, who overcame long odds to earn a place in the University of Notre Dame football team. I'm sorry, I don't need ChatGPT to tell me about Rudy. And if you are Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, anybody in that Eagles locker room, and your head coach that makes $15 million a year starts telling you the story of Rudy, I'm out of there. Like, no wonder they needed a positivity bunny, because that is just crazy.
I will say one other note, not to throw jabs, but there was a former head coach that is no longer head coach of the Buffalo Bills that tried to motivate his team by using a 9/11 analogy, and maybe
that's bad as well.
ChatGPT would have been helpful for him. I'm just saying, I personally like Claude. ChatGPT is great for images, so maybe what Sirianni has to do is go to Claude. There we go. Problem fixed.
If you need AI to tell you to maybe not mention one of the most horrific terrorist attacks in the history of this country, then I can't help you. I cannot help you there. That was terrible. That looked really bad on Sean McDermott. But okay, while we are on the topic of AI, and let me just say, I have nothing against coaches using AI. If it comes down to numbers, if it comes down to trying to find that analytical advantage, I don't have an issue with that. It's just like, hey, this is something, motivational speeches, that's something that should come from the heart, not from a robot. But now, while we're on the topic of AI, if Nick Sirianni is going to use it, what prompt do you think the Eagles should use to fix their 2026 football team?
Now, chat, Gemini, and Claude, they can't answer this question. But what I would throw into there is, how do I get AJ Brown back? Please, please help me. How do I go back in time?
Flights
And
to
you
New
know what
England.
Claude, you know what chat would probably say? The only way to reverse this course of action is if you lived in the Marvel universe and if Doctor Strange was able to go back in time and change the outcome and not have AJ Brown read a book on the sideline and have a public feud in some ways with Jalen Hurts. That is what I would want him to throw into chat, because I do think that this team, you just can't convince me, is better off without AJ Brown. Even if you do bring in a new wide receiver in Malachi Lemon from USC, one of the top receivers, he got the top wide receiver award. I do believe in Devontae Smith is a wide receiver one, but after that, there are not that many proven commodities, specifically from the wide receiver standpoint. Obviously Saquon Barkley is going to be a threat from the backfield in addition to Dallas Goedert, but I do think that they need more firepower. But we're going to see. Once again, a new offensive coordinator for Jalen Hurts, but I'd want Sirianni to throw into there, how do I get AJ Brown back? Please, Dr. Strange, help us out.
My prompt for the Eagles is very, very similar to yours, and it is how to throw the football. I mean, it's a lot easier to do when you have AJ Brown, one of the best wide receivers in the National Football League, but you don't. So, how do you throw the football? Because that was clearly a problem and an issue for the Eagles last year, which again feels like a crime against humanity and against football when you have one of the best wide receiver duos in the NFL in Devontae Smith and AJ Brown. Now, AJ Brown leaves, you bring in Mekhi Lemon, and while Mekhi Lemon has not proven himself to be an AJ Brown in the National Football League, I do very much so believe in what Mekhi Lemon can bring for this offense. So, you move on from Sean Mannion. Clearly, that was not going to work. You mentioned it, another offensive coordinator for Jalen Hurts. I think that the Eagles are doing a disservice to Jalen Hurts, constantly having a revolving door at the offensive coordinator position, but there needed to be a change that was made after last season. The Eagles' offense last season was absolutely unacceptable. So how do you throw the football? How do you take advantage of that pass-catching core? How do you take advantage of using the arm and the intellect of the former Super Bowl MVP in Jalen Hurts? When you throw the football, that opens up more opportunities for Saquon Barkley. It just opens up, at least an offense that doesn't feel like punishment to watch, because it did feel like punishment watching the Eagles offense at times last year. But overall, thoughts, feelings, vibes about the Eagles going into this season?
Optimistic. Let's leave it at that. I'll get back to what Claude and chat have to say after this segment.
Very well said by you. All right, we'll transition into the world of hoops because we are all still and have been for a long time on LeBron Watch. Tobin joins us coming up next, talking all things Miami Heat.
Who is your breakout candidate for this year?
Kind of think Isaiah Likely with the New York Giants is a really good candidate this year. Kind of wide receiver room that could rotate a little bit and be useful players, but they don't, to me, have one dynamic. Even Fields, who I like, I don't know that he's gonna be like a dynamic guy that right off the bus, round 3 rookie, leads the team in targets. I think that could actually be Isaiah Likely. Tight ends on their second contracts have been good bets to make. I think Likely is a good bet to make this year.
Derby on the ground, a high popper. Puka comes up to get it at the 10. Williams out of the 15 and the 20. Puka Williams is free. Inside the 10, 5, touchdown! Puka Williams.
When you have one of the best returners in the league, when you have one of the fastest guys in the league, he has been on the verge of returning these over and over in this game. You know how dangerous he is. You've got to have a plan.
How do you feel about the Seahawks skill players at this point in time?
The good part, I think, if you're a Seahawks fan, what you would argue here is that outside of Cooper Kupp, like, everybody should, I think, have another step to take. It's not impossible that JSN does this again, but you bake in some, I'm not like negative against the player, but just a little regression there. The way you offset that is younger guys and other players step up.
Walter Wilbon's on his left hip. White rolls right. White throws deep. White's got a man open. Jamon Street. Touchdown, New Mexico. First career touchdown pass for LeJames White, and New Mexico strikes on first down.
Look at him go. Calls for it. Fakes the handoff. I mean, textbook QB1 stuff.
Pretty good throw.
Really good.
The Miami Heat's official YouTube channel had LeBron's introductory press conference scheduled for July 27th. Miami Heat introductory press conference for LeBron James, welcoming him back as a member of the Miami Heat. So that was leaked late last night and early this morning, and it has sent the entire NBA social media world into an absolute tizzy. So joining us now to break down that and all things Miami Heat is Brendan Tobin. Brendan, thanks so much for joining the show. You can follow his YouTube channel at Tobin Show. The Miami Heat social team said it was just a mistake. Are you buying that?
No, I'm not. I think that is one of those things where, like, you immediately try and scramble and find like the weakest answer for something like that, but that's very weird to have something like that, just pop up and everybody's seeing it, and then it has to get switched to private because you're trying to cover your tracks on something like that. So that was definitely one of those where I was like, in the categories of could be something, could be nothing. I think that's something, and maybe they do just want to be well prepared. Maybe they just want to feel like they're covering their tracks. I mean, I think you guys know, making content, I've never felt like I've needed to, jump the gun that much on, a maybe. I feel like I would do that certainly just so I have something prepped up. So I don't know. To me, that was very, very fishy that comes out there. And, certainly it feels like this entire in the last couple of the last couple of days with Miami feeling very confident. There's been a lot of people watching betting lines, watching how Pat Riley's been moving in interviews. And so I kind of just felt like it went with the wave of how things have been going with this whole LeBron thing.
Where there's smoke, there's fire. It doesn't make sense, especially that you would jump the gun this early. Right now it's Wednesday, and maybe there's a press conference on Monday. It doesn't take that long to upload something. Neither here nor there. But if we do lean into this idea of year 24 for LeBron being in Miami, what does success look like for him there? Is a championship a realistic expectation, Brendan?
Well, I think, him coming here or not coming here, them getting Giannis, the expectation goes to championship. I know people are a little bit down on Giannis because he's been having so many early playoff exits, but I could tell you from the way that he was speaking at this press conference on Thursday, and when I was sitting down with him, like, this is a very determined guy, to shake a lot of the narrative. I think everybody's kind of already moved their eyes to Joker and Wemby and Ant-Man, and rightfully so. Like, those have been the guys who have been getting far in SGA, but we've all kind of forgotten about the two-time MVP because this trade drama has been around for a couple of years. He's gotten early exits, some of them against the Miami Heat. And he still wants to prove that he's that guy. I know that Bam Adebayo, who just turned 29 years old, is not exactly, waiting around. He's been dying to be up there with the Heat greats to add a championship to his resume. So LeBron being here and not being here, I do think adds to, the idea that they think there are championship expectations. Now, maybe it's more realistic next year when they can really, furnish a better roster around them. But I don't think that that's how they're moving this season. I think that they feel like they want to make some noise in the East. So if you add LeBron to that, certainly with his age, I think the expectations are going to even amplify more that they want to win a championship and they want to win it now.
Pat Riley said at Giannis's introductory press conference that they have one more big plane to land. What did you make of him saying that, obviously alluding to LeBron James?
I think you hit the nail on the head. Like Pat Riley, he doesn't say things by accident. I mean, like he is, even at his age, he doesn't drop things for no reason. And if you guys have ever spoken to Pat Riley, sometimes you'll ask Pat Riley a question, and he'll just take it in a completely different direction. Like I didn't even ask about that, but he just wants it out there. So anything that Pat Riley usually drops in a press conference is not without purpose, whether he's making jokes at Tyler Hero's expense or he's insinuating that the LeBron thing is still possibly a thing. So I definitely think we all noticed it for the correct reasons. I don't think that he didn't drop it out there for no reason, and that this is an organization that does want to continue to add around Giannis. I think that seeing how Giannis has moved around here the first couple of days with the organization. He's been effusive in his praise of LeBron James. LeBron obviously has a lot of respect for Spo and Bam Adebayo. So I think this is an organization that feels like they're in the game for him. Are they truly the favorites? I don't know, but I do feel like their confidence around the topic has definitely seems like it's grown over the last few days.
Yeah, Brendan, there's certainly a lot of familiarity. And what I keep going back to is when LeBron said he's trying to prioritize basketball happiness. Once again, that's a passive aggressive answer. We know that LeBron likes to play a game of chess, similar to Pat Riley. We're not sure what happiness looks like for him at this stage of his career. But one thing I do think Miami presents is the upside of having him be a ball dominant. He can have his ball hit the ball in his hands a lot more versus Cleveland as well as Philadelphia. So I ask you, why do you think Miami made his top three? What on the court is intriguing to him there?
Well, I think for one thing, I think that the chance to play with Bam and play with Giannis, I think is very appealing to him because yes, while those guys are incredible players, I don't necessarily know that, in maybe crunch time situations, you want to throw the ball to Giannis. We've seen sometimes him having to go to those free throws late in games is almost Shaq-like. It can be a problem from time to time, outside of his championship in 21, Bam Adebayo has never really been. He's got a few buzzer beaters in his career, but he's never been the guy that they usually would throw it to. Usually that would be Tyler Hero or that would be Jimmy Butler. So I do think in a lot of ways they're looking for that closer. And I think the other thing is, you look around the rest of the roster, man, that's a really strong defensive roster. With Bam, Giannis, Davion Mitchell is an absolute terror at the point of attack. Andrew Wiggins, they were very key on bringing back, and they could do that to kind of support LeBron with that wing defense, or his contract is tradable if they feel like there's some more shooting they could add to that package. But I just think that the way that Miami goes, there's probably teams that have better spacing around LeBron James, but I think on the other side of the floor, what they could do in transition and what they could put around him defensively is quite strong. And then I think the other thing is, you look at his age and Eric Spoelstra knowing how to manage guys of that age and knowing how to manage the Dwayne Wades, even as recently as like a Kyle Lowry, guys who, maybe aren't going to be practicing every single day, but you trust their IQ. Those truly are the guys that Eric Spoelstra gravitates towards. Like, he's had the young guys these last couple of years, and, they've done a good job with their player development. But I think that Spo really, really has, a lot of respect from what he's learned when he coached LeBron James and what he's learned from those experiences being around him with Team USA. So I do think that familiarity in the coaching staff really gives the Heat a leg up in this situation if LeBron is looking for that kind of comfort.
He's familiar with the Heat culture. It's absolutely an advantage for Miami when it comes to the LeBron sweepstakes. I'm curious, where do you think the Miami Heat, as currently constructed, land in the hierarchy or the power rankings of the East? And where would they sit with the addition of LeBron James?
It's a great question because, again, it goes back to what do we still think of Giannis as an elite player and what he can move to the ceiling, because the Heat really haven't had a player like Giannis since LeBron, of a guy who brings it every single night in the regular season and really trying to pump up their record. As a playoff player, we know Giannis has not had the success that he did when he won the title. But it's interesting because even when they had Jimmy Butler here, Jimmy Butler was such a touch-and-go player, never scored 40 points in the regular season with the Miami Heat. Giannis is one of these guys where he's led his Bucks teams to have 1 seeds, and yes, they've flamed out, but he can carry that team night in and night out. So I am interested to see if this is a team that kind of goes pedal to the metal. I know that he's had a lot of time off and is itching to get back. I was talking to Bobby Portis last week, and I asked him about like a lot of people doubting Giannis, and he said like the one thing he wants to say is hungry. That's Giannis's mindset right now. He's hungry to prove people wrong. I'm always going to give respect to the champs as much as it disgusts me as a Heat fan. So I'm going to give the nod to the Knicks to still be number one. You just got to do that. I think that's the proper thing to do. But you see what's going on with Boston. Like, I don't know how Jason Tatum's going to handle a full season with no Jaylen Brown, and now you have to carry a team. And by the way, you have Paul George, who is next to you. He's not exactly the Mr. Reliable. I do like what Philly's done, but again, they always have the Joel Embiid question. Cleveland, I guess the LeBron thing could be a swing there one way or the other, like of who you think is going to be higher, because certainly Cleveland has been, trying to make that leap. And, maybe LeBron is the swing there because they obviously have a lot of talent outside him anyway. But I do think this team is capable of being top four in the East at into this season, especially with, bringing in Giannis or not. I think that, his motivation and having this team play defense, I think the way they're going to play night in and night out, I don't think that a lot of teams are going to like that. Now, will it have the success in the playoffs? That remains to be seen, but I could actually see this being a pretty good regular season team.
Brendan, since you're out there, give us the pulse of this fan base right now. We mentioned Pat Riley clearly being intentional at the press conference for Giannis. You might be excited, but guess what? There might be another big plane that could be landing. And he put that out there in the forefront, knowing everyone would grab onto that statement. And then you have the social media or the YouTube mistake. Would there be more understanding or disappointment from the fan base based off of LeBron's decision if he goes there or doesn't go there?
It's a great point, and I've been trying to make that point on my radio show every week down here. In that this is already a great off season. Like the Miami Heat, whether they get LeBron or not, we've been talking about the Giannis thing forever, and so that already has to be checked off for the Heat. Is like if you get a two-time MVP, yes, you had to trade a lot for him, but these were guys that maybe they were going to be good, maybe they were not, but they were not pieces of a playoff roster last year, and the Heat have been the kings of Playinville for the last 4 years. So I do think that the fan base, whether they get LeBron or whether they don't, is absolutely amplified. At least that's the pulse that I've gotten from everybody, whether, be on, the radio show or YouTube, that's the feedback that I'm getting. But I do think that there is something that with LeBron having, a return down here, it's interesting because there is kind of this generation of fans. Like I was in my 20s when this was going on, but there's a generation of fans that were kids. Like this is the team they grew up on. It was funny listening to Bobby Portis and Giannis talk about this. They were teenagers when the Heatles were together, and that impacted that team has. So I think there's also something romantic to some fans want to relive a little bit of like what it's like to be one of the talks of the NBA. And certainly, while I think Giannis is going to bring intrigue to the Heat, I think that LeBron being added to him adds a whole nother level of spotlight to the team. And I think that Miami digs being the center of attention. They also dig the idea that, people will probably be doubting that team. They rally around that. They feed off of that. So I think that people are definitely fired up to go into a new era, regardless of LeBron coming here. But if he does come here, I do recognize, I think everybody else recognizes that's going to take it to a whole nother level as far as attention is concerned.
Let's say he does choose the Miami Heat. If LeBron lands in Miami, the ultimate deciding factor will be what?
I think it's going to be familiarity with the organization and particularly Spo and Bam, and the idea that they've built a good, roster to protect him and his age throughout this, but also get him to be in the things that he really wants to highlight and show that he can still have those moments as an elite player. I think that's what they got. Yes, obviously, I know that the big thing has also been LeBron is huge into golf right down here. The golf down in Miami and South Florida, if you guys haven't heard, it doesn't suck, and it doesn't change in January. So I do think that lifestyle-wise, for a guy in his 40s is certainly different than it is for a guy in his 20s. I'm sure that that's going to be attractive to him as well. So I think ultimately familiarity with the coach and knowing how to manage him, I think is going to be a big factor. The mutual respect that they have for each other. will it be enough to pull the ultimate home? Because I've always I went into this thing much like everybody else, thinking that the storybook ending is going to be in Cleveland. But there's also an element to he's already had the perfect ending in Cleveland. It really doesn't get better than their first championship in 50 plus years. I don't think you can top that. So maybe this is, you're not hopping to another organization. Philly fans can be kind of ruthless. So, Golden State's a little weird because, you were always kind of their rival. So Miami does have something. It's the place he's won the most championships. And I think there is some element to it of like, hey, you get to have another, roundabout storybook ending, kind of like you did in Cleveland. Yeah, you're not from here, but you did your most winning here. You were probably your most attention that you had was probably the best player you were ever in your career. So you get to come here and have that storybook ending down in South Florida.
That certainly would be one for the books. I'm looking at the roster, and you mentioned the great defensive unit that Miami has equipped right now, especially with Bam and Giannis being those anchors and Mitchell also on the wing. Every one of Bron's other stops, especially when you look at the championship culture that he's had, you see him surrounded by shooters. So the question is, Brendan, do you think they have enough shooters around him? And I think about Duncan Robinson, Gabe Vincent, guys who maybe didn't have a name, but they're able to find one. How are they going to be able to equip him with those similar type of archetype players to possibly contend for a championship if he comes?
Yeah, it's a great question if they do. The first priority for them this offseason was to go get Tim Hardaway Jr., who's, kind of been in that role of playing next to Cade Cunningham and to Nikola Jokic. So, he's really amplified being in that role of being a floor spacer. Obviously, it's Goosey's galore because, his father was a legend down here, and there was a whole thing about whether he was going to get to wear number 10. So I think Tim Hardaway was a huge priority for them. He's going to be one of those guys that's going to be out there plenty. Andrew Wiggins just did have his best shooting year. He shot over 40%, did it on pretty good volume. So I do think that they feel good about what Andrew Wiggins is going to be bringing to the table because he just kind of knows his perfect role. Andrew Wiggins, he'll look like the greatest basketball player you've ever seen for 3 minutes and a quarter, and then he'll kind of fade out of a game. That's what he does, and I think that they love him in this organization, what he brings. Davion Mitchell's certainly capable of it, but he's not a guy who's going to be looking to shoot first, so that'll be kind of an interesting swing factor on it. On the bench, they have Nikola Jovic, who had just a terrible season last year, but almost so bad that you feel like he's going to bounce back. Watching him in Serbia this year next to Joker, he was really, really key in playing off ball. He had a game where he hit 7 threes to help them qualify in the World Cup and advance for play. So I do think that they feel better about his chances to bounce back. And then they took this kid Ryan Conwell out of Louisville, who had a very impressive summer league. He, I think, nailed the 3rd most threes. And that, talking to your Duncan Robinson point, that really has been where the Heat have found these shooters. I think back to even when Wayne Ellington was a journeyman who's now on the roster, bringing these guys who have a specialty, but they just want them to fire away. When Jimmy's first full year down here, Jimmy Butler, Duncan Robinson started the first year alongside Kendrick Nunn, 2 undrafted. One was a second-year guy and one was a rookie. So that is almost their specialty of finding guys who you don't expect to light it up from downtown. And so I do think they feel good about Conwell. Pelle Larsson's going to be an interesting one because he is dynamic, getting to the rim and playing with physicality. He's great in the mid-range, but three-point shooting, he just really hasn't found that stride. But I do think they love him as a player. And I think he's like that quintessential hard-nosed Heat player. If he can have a better season from shooting from 3, I really think that can change the dynamic of this team because he's going to play minutes regardless.
He is Brendan Tobin. You can find him on YouTube at Tobin Show. He's did a great job. I saw you had a sit down with Giannis. You've been breaking down the Bam and Tyler Hero beef. So he's got a great pulse on the fan base there in Miami. Brendan, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy LeBron watch, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Brendan. Brendan Tobin hanging out with us here on the show. Looking ahead to this weekend, WNBA All-Star is coming up in Chicago. My biggest questions for Kathy Engelbert.
My sister told me, be careful what you wish for because you might get it. I did. And now it's about, well, what goals are, what's left on the table? I want Street Fighter to be a massive success. I want to do more Guile, but also I want to do more film. I want to do more TV. There's seats on, on the Georgia political scene that are open. Is that a road? Or is this the road to stay with something I love so much like wrestling? And I love this. I don't know how I'd say bye to it.
Sharks down 10. Third down and 10 from the 19. Edwards steps up. Now he's in trouble. And Edwards sacked. Back at the 17. And once again, it's Devontae O'Malley. And flipped into the end zone. Touchdown. A thing of beauty. DeLaurent from Murray with a late pitch over the top, end over end, and a Pirates touchdown.
If you are a check writer at one of these places that has achieved success historically in college football, and you are ideologically opposed to your check going directly to Rev, to paying the players, with the ideology of, well, we didn't have to do this back when. When you hear we didn't used to have to do this amongst boosters, go ahead and order the gravestone for your football program.
Still Barnes in there. No Jared Ware on this drive yet. Roberts against the blitz, goes to the end zone for Keon Williams. Easy as you like. 16-yard touchdown.
There's Keon Williams. Tried to go to him in the last drive on that fourth down play to the end zone. Good defense by Orlando, but that time able to shake free to the corner.
The countdown is almost over. We're just days out from the 2026 AT&T WNBA All-Star Game as it takes over Chicago. Who you got, Team Coop or Team Spoon? The WNBA All-Star Game going down this Saturday, July 25th. And my co-host on Hoops 360, Cassandra Negley, just wrote on Yahoo Sports about the level of anticipation, not just for the All-Star Game itself, but the entire weekend and Kathy Englebert's annual press conference just prior to the game. And Justin, I think you and I can both acknowledge that WNBA fans and the league itself are in dire need of maybe a state of the union, and that's what we're going to get this weekend from Kathy Engelbert. And Cass pointed out, quote, it's often the largest of her 3 annual pressers. So I am looking forward to WNBA All-Star Game this weekend. We'll have a new Hoops 360 podcast dropping tomorrow afternoon, so you can find that on the Yahoo Sports YouTube page and wherever you get your podcasts. But I have 3 big questions that if I were sitting in Kathy Englebert's press conference, questions that I would ask. I'll start with number 1. Kathy Engelbert mentioned going into this season that officiating needed to be cleaned up. Officiating needed to be as standardized as officiating can possibly be. They needed to tighten up officiating. They needed to take a certain level of physicality out of the game because it was hurting the game. But now officiating has been one of the biggest, if not the biggest, topics of conversation surrounding the WNBA this season. Why can't the league get officiating right? That's my first question. Your thoughts?
Absolutely. That should be the number one question that is thrown at Kathy's way. Worth pointing out, they did create a committee last year to rectify this issue. I will say that I would like to give it more time that they can fix their errors. I know that Cheryl Reeve, who's obviously the great coach of Minnesota Lynx, and she's been on that committee trying to say that officiating isn't perfect. But what I find very troubling is the inconsistency. And in some of the big moments, they've missed their step. One of the biggest moments we're fully aware of, Alyssa Thomas, the flagrant foul on Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is clearly a lightning rod player, and she's going to have a lot of media pundits and everybody say she's being fairly or unfairly officiated. But I do think that officiating has been the number one storyline, and instead we should be focusing the play on the court. But instead we're talking about the refs and how they've been able to manage and manipulate games. We had Sandy Brondello from the Tempo obviously has some unfair comments that were directed at Angel Reese because she was upset at the officiating. That's another story in itself, but I do think that anytime your eyes are focused on the people that are calling the game rather than playing the game, that is an issue. It's not going to be perfect, but I do think that there is a lot that can be cleaned up, and this needs to be rectified immediately because this is an inflection point, Caroline. I remember last time we were speaking about how the CBA has finally been written, and Holly Rose spoke about the excitement coming into this year. At that time, we didn't know how good Olivia Miles was going to be or AZ Fudd. Miles has been incredible. Can you imagine what it's going to be like when Athisa Collier is actually fully healthy? There are a lot of questions that need to be thrown out her way, but I love your question number one.
I think that we all just want consistency in officiating in any sport. And it's going to be hard to do that because there are a lot of subjective calls. You're dealing with multiple different people. You're dealing with humans, and human error is just an inherent part of life. But what we have right now is total inconsistency and a total gray area of how this game is officiated. The powers that be, just so many questions about what's allowed and what's not in this league. And that should be so clear. And that should be stated from the jump. Not, oh, we're trying to navigate this as we go throughout the entire course of the season. So we all want consistency. The second question that I have for Kathy Engelbert is, what's Adam Silver's role in the WNBA? Because going back to the CBA negotiations, Adam Silver came out publicly and said, this is the W's deal, right? Like, this is the WNBA's CBA. This is their negotiations. We are going to be as hands-off as possible. If they need us, of course, we're going to be here, but these are their negotiations. Okay, fine. I can respect that because they have a commissioner. They have leadership. They have their own representation in their own negotiations. It's not really a place that Adam Silver needs to be if they don't feel like he needs to be. Fast forward to just a couple of weeks ago, and there were reports that Adam Silver advised Kathy Engelbert to suspend Alyssa Thomas for that on-court altercation with Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark's on the ground. Alyssa Thomas falls. She braces herself with her fist on Caitlin Clark's neck. Initially, it was not called a foul. Retroactively, they called it a double flagrant, or a flagrant 2, and Alyssa Thomas was suspended for 1 game. Okay, so Adam Silver is saying that he's not going to be involved in CBA negotiations, but here he is reportedly advising Kathy Engelbert on how to officiate and how to govern on-court interactions. So exactly how much say, how much power, how much voice does Adam Silver have in the WNBA?
So I have a reaction, but I also have a suggestion. I'd modify the question, and based off of what you shared and what we know, is I would ask, why were you reluctant to suspend Alyssa Thomas based off of the flagrant foul that she gave to Caitlin Clark? Now, the reaction to that is what I think Kathy would say is she would tell people and she would lean into the talking points about the numbers. The NBA has 42% ownership stake in the WNBA. The WNBA falls under the NBA's umbrella. The NBA at times is going to advise and promote the league, as we've seen so many times, in addition to having some type of say in business affairs. 42% goes to the NBA. The other 42% is the owners, and then you split that evenly for the rest remaining among some groups. The NBA has always had some type of say. Going back to even when this position was created a handful of years ago for Kathy Engelbert, Adam Silver was an influencing decision or influencer in that decision. So they're always going to have some type of say. What's unfortunate, though, I think, Caroline, is that when you have this narrative that comes out about Caitlin Clark and how everything is unfairly put against her, is that Kathy wasn't the one that said, okay, we need to actually have a suspension. It should be more than just a flagrant 2 foul. That is what's tough. And that drives a bad narrative for Kathy that Adam Silver had to chime in and make a suggestion for her rather than just advising or agreeing with her.
And it doesn't have to be about favoritism for one player or another. You should just be doing your job, no matter what jersey a player is wearing, what the name says on the front or what the name says on the back. Because what Alyssa Thomas did was clearly crossing a line. And I think the suspension was warranted. And that is not motivated by anything other than just basketball. So I think that too, that Kathy Engelbert should be focused on just basketball, on what is best for her players. Consistency, not only from refereeing, but from leadership as well. should not be worried about the court of public opinion. Because if you are just doing your job in a totally and completely unbiased way, then those quote unquote favoritism accusations won't mean anything to you because they're not real and they're not true. It's all just based in truth and fact and consistency in governing this league. It's unfortunately not what we've gotten is consistency in governing for this league. Third and final question that I have for Kathy Engelbert that I would ask her in a press conference if I was there. I'm not going to be there and I'm very sad. But if I was there, I would ask this. Locker room and closing off media access to the locker room. Why do you think that's the best thing for your league? And do you think that you're serving your fans and closing off access to the locker room? So anybody who's not aware, media is not allowed in WNBA locker rooms. Also, players are not obligated to speak at the locker room. A lot of other leagues, they are. Players are contractually obligated to speak with the media, whether that's in the locker room or if that's in a press conference setting. That is not the case in the WNBA. And since access has been closed off to locker rooms, it's left a lot of room for interpretation for fans and for media, because when you can't ask those questions, well, then you just leave more room for any sort of gray area. You don't get any questions that you might have clarified. So I would ask Kathy Engelbert why she believes that's best for the league and why she believes that's serving the WNBA fans.
Let's give some context here because I love the question. Kathy Engelbert's had this position since 2019. We do know what happened immediately after 2019, 2020, the pandemic. A lot of locker room access was cut off. No one had any type of access for reporter, anything because of the pandemic. It's been a few years since 2016, or sorry, 2020. We have surpassed that point. And now it's time to open up the locker rooms for all leagues. The WNBA is the only league in the US that does not have an open locker room policy. We cannot treat this league with hand gloves. At the inflection point, new CBA, players finally getting paid even close to a modicum of their worth, and the league seems like they're in a good place. There's some really good storylines on the court. If the league wants to continue to grow, we need to tell the stories of these women, and the only way we can tell the stories of these women is the access that we have in the locker room. That needs to be done immediately, and it is a very simple fix. I'm not sure what barrier is stopping her from doing it. The other question I would throw in there, if we could really be greedy and we're sitting down at that press conference, Caroline, is I would ask her why she ducked the smoke from Dan Patrick. That was a scheduled interview, and I do think that anytime there are bad storylines and headlines written about the W, Kathy has to get out there in front of it. We know how much has been written about Caitlin Clark, and she was able to get a huge moment, being the first player in W history to have 40 and 10 assists. I do think that more of those moments need to happen where her players are scrutinized. Get out there and do not cancel media availability.
And look, there's no denying how much success the WNBA has had under the leadership of Kathy Engelbert. They just agreed to the richest CBA in the history of the WNBA. We have the first $1 million women. The WNBA just signed a multi-billion-dollar television deal over the next 11 years. Right now in the league, we've had 3 expansion teams over the last 2 years, and we have 3 more coming in over the next 4 years. But your job as a commissioner is not just to be a business person, which Kathy Engelbert is good at. It's also being a liaison and a champion for your league. Kathy Engelbert's not doing a good enough job at that. We will, of course, keep you updated with all things that come out from WNBA All-Star, but the NFL season is upon us, and we've got a star-studded Minnesota sports fan joining us coming up next. Josh Duhamel joins the program.
Who is your breakout candidate for this year?
Kind of think Isaiah Likely with the New York Giants is a really good candidate this year. Kind of wide receiver room that could rotate a little bit and be useful players, but they don't, to me, have one dynamic. Even Fields, who I like, I don't know that he's gonna be like a dynamic guy that right off the bus, round 3 rookie, leads the team in targets. I think that could actually be Isaiah Likely. Tight ends on their second contracts have been good bets to make. I think Likely is a good bet to make this year.
Derby on the ground, a high popper. Puka comes up to get it at the 10. Williams out of the 15, the 20. Puka Williams is free. Inside the 10, 5, touchdown, Puka Williams.
When you have one of the best returners in the league, when you have one of the fastest guys in the league, he has been on the verge of returning these over and over in this game. You know how dangerous he is. You've got to have a plan.
How do you feel about the Seahawks skill players at this point in time?
The good part, I think, if you're a Seahawks fan, what you would argue here is that outside of Cooper Kupp, like, everybody should, I think, have another step to take. It's not impossible that JSN does this again, but you bake in some, I'm not like negative against the player, but just a little regression there. The way you offset that is younger guys and other players step up.
Walter Wilbon's on his left hip. White rolls right. White throws deep. White's got a man open. Demond Street. Touchdown, New Mexico. First career touchdown pass for LeJames White, and New Mexico strikes on first down.
Look at him go. Calls for it. Fakes the handoff. I mean, textbook QB1 stuff.
Pretty good throw.
Really good.
Per rap sheet, Kyler Murray, J.J. McCarthy, and the quarterback battle will go down right up to the start of the season. So no doubt that'll be one of the number one storylines as we go throughout training camp. And joining us now to break all of that down is the star of Ransom Canyon Season 2 and diehard Vikings and Timberwolves fan, Josh Duhamel. Josh, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for joining us on Yahoo Sports Daily. Is that encouraging to you? Are you excited about the quarterback battle that's going down in training camp? Or do you want Kyler or JJ to make the decision easy enough?
I mean, is it really a competition? I guess I just assumed that Kyler was going to be the guy. But it wouldn't surprise me if JJ steps up and really, makes him work for it. I would hey, as a hardcore Vikings fan, I would love to see JJ turn out to be the guy that they thought he was when they drafted him. And he could be. I think he showed signs of it last year. The game against the Bears, he came up and drove them down the field in the fourth quarter to take the lead, only to let us, let them run it back to the 40 and then kick a field goal to lose the game. But, he's shown signs that he could do it. I'm just not all the way there yet. But Kyler is an interesting dude because he's super talented, number one overall Heisman winner, I believe, right?
Yes.
And is now playing for a contract. Yeah. These guys that have a contract on the line seem to play better. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it really is going to be. I'm intrigued to see how it all shakes out. But Josh, before we even get into more about the Vikings, what's the genesis of your fandom? Do you remember that memory that actually sticks in your head rent-free? Hopefully a positive one. I know you've had some heartbreak with the Vikings.
Yeah, the Vikings do find a new way to break your heart every single season. And it's tough to be a Vikes fan, but I think that it goes all the way back to when I was a kid. I was also a Cowboys fan growing up because I was sort of a contrarian. I didn't want to be I wanted to be the guy who was wasn't the Vikings fan in town. It's just young and dumb. But then when I moved away in my mid-20s, early 20s, the Vikings were sort of my connection to home. And I really became more of a Vikings fan than anything else after that. So I really do love this team. I think it's one of the better teams in the NFL, just never quite good enough. So every season we're like, this is our year. This is our year. And every season they seem to find a new way to break our heart. But you know what? One of these seasons they will do it. I believe it. And I hope they do it before I die.
That is one thing that I think all of us sports fans can agree with is our teams break our hearts. That I think everyone, no matter where your fandom lies, it's, it's tough to be a fan of XYZ team, maybe unless you're a fan of the New England Patriots. But everybody is. I am a Saints fan, so I understand heartbreak.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm an Eagles fan.
Yeah. Eagles fan. Well, you guys have both had a fair amount of success recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a minute. I want to touch on Justin Jefferson. I'm also an LSU fan. I went to LSU, so I'm rooting for Justin Jefferson every single time I see him out on Sundays. But he did have some tough criticism for J.J. McCarthy this past offseason. Was it a warning sign to you?
I didn't see that criticism. What was it?
He said he needs to step it up. He needs to be that dog. Talked about, once the Vikings find a better solution at quarterback.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, listen, Justin Jefferson is, I think, the best receiver in the league. He's such a game changer, and he doesn't want to waste his prime years, with a guy who's not going to help him get it done. So, I don't find anything wrong with that. I think it's okay for him to push him a bit. I think JJ can take it. And he does need to step it up. I felt like he got hurt. He got hurt 3 different times last season. I'm not sure he was unable to play. Carson Wentz was out there with a broken shoulder, still playing while he was on the sideline, apparently healing from something. And it didn't seem like he was as injured as they made it out to be. So, who am I to say how injured he was? But I want to see him on the field, like doing what he did at Michigan.
Now, Josh, we did our best to try to find some video of you in college, but I do know that you were a college backup and you were under center. As a college backup go ahead.
Wasn't really a backup. We split time as starters. I started, he started, we both played equally, but whatever. It's forever in Wikipedia's history as me being a backup quarterback, which kind of hurts.
All right, let's put some respect. They could change a Wikipedia page in seconds. So we'll make sure that we make that amend, or at least try to have them modify it. Okay. So as a college starter,
I think you
I
can.
don't have the power, but I do know that people make quick changes all the time. There's a bunch of fake stuff on Wikipedia and incorrect info that we have for you, clearly. So during your time under center in college, how did you use those life lessons in college to make sure that you survive in Hollywood, knowing that there's so much volatility in that business?
I think athletics in general help you in whatever career you choose, because it forces you to, learn how to win, learn how to lose, learn how to be a teammate, and how to work, and discipline yourselves to go after something. And I think it's just been so helpful for me, because this industry can be tough and you take a lot of knocks and you get told no a lot. You might have something you think is going to do really well at the box office and it doesn't, but you got to get back up and you got to keep going. And that's one thing that I think I learned from sports, is that you get back up and you just keep going. You keep showing up every day. And I think that my time at Minot State was one of those. It was tough because it wasn't as successful as I wanted it to be. But at the same time, I'm happy that it wasn't, because it fueled me to go on and do things in other areas of my life. And I think that's what really helped me as far as sports and playing at Minot State.
I think we may be bearing the lead here, because you have an awfully beautiful background behind you. Season 2 of Ransom Canyon coming out on Netflix. Tell us a little bit about the show, a little bit about your role.
So yes, we have Ransom Canyon season 2 coming out tomorrow, the 23rd of July. I'm really proud of this season. I love this show. I love my cast. I love the writers and April, the showrunner. Netflix has been so good to us. So I feel like we really elevated from season 1 to season 2. It's really fun. It's drama without the trauma. Somebody just told me in the back room. They like this show because it's not so heavy, but it's full of drama. And he said it's like drama without the trauma, which I thought was pretty good. It does. The show is kind of
like that.
It's like an old pair of jeans. It's like comfort food. It's an easy watch, and I think that's what we set out to do, was make a show that was really entertaining and something that was just an easy watch.
If you had a dream project, Josh, that you haven't worked on or that you can get a chance to produce/star in, what would it be?
Oof. I don't know. I never know what I want to do until I read it. I've been a lot of different things in my career, which has been really fun. I think that's why I love this job so much, is every day is different. Every scene is different. Every project is a new adventure. But I just, I got to direct a couple movies. I've been able to do all kinds of different things. So I can't really tell you that until I read it, really.
That's fair. It's very fair. And looking back on, you've had a long, successful career in Hollywood. Looking back when you were making Transformers, my personal favorite movie when I was younger, When a Date with Tad Hamilton. I think I still have a DVD copy somewhere at my parents' house, maybe sitting in my old DVD player. Obviously, those were the more traditional ways of rolling out movies on DVD, in movie theaters. Now you're doing Ransom Canyon and it's on a streaming service on Netflix. What are the differences between the two and making those two different types of projects, whether it's the old way of doing things versus digital?
Well, the business has definitely changed a lot since I first started. When I first started, we were still using actual film. And then somewhere while we were shooting Las Vegas, they started going to the digital, sort of the chips, which I think sped things up, made things a little bit more efficient. I do enjoy directors and productions that like to not rely too much on CGI and AI and all those things, and they like to practically sort of make these things, because I think the audience feels a tangible difference between something that's artificially created versus something that may not be as perfect but has real sort of tactical vibes to it.
Josh, I'm thinking of.
I don't even know.
Yeah, no, it does. I'm thinking back to when I asked you about the question about Dream Script, and what I'm surprised at is possibly if you would have gave a sports answer. So twofold follow-up. The first is, how far do you think you could throw right now if you got like at least 5 throws? And then the second, would you be open if a great script came across your way? I know you want to read it and digest it, about playing a quarterback.
Ooh.
I mean, yes, my dream was always to play, a quarterback or something in a movie. But at this point, I feels like I would be. This might be helpful with AI. They could just age me down about 15 years. But yeah, at this point, I think I'm the coach of the. I think I'm the coach of the quarterback. Unfortunately,
It could be replacement players too, right? The sequel.
Say it. Yeah. But yeah, I think that, those are always my favorite kind of movies, sports movies, whether it's basketball or football or hockey or even wrestling. Those are the movies that I grew up on. So I would love to have done it, and maybe I still can. But I'm gonna have to rely a little bit on that CGI, I think.
Josh, everyone in Hollywood is aging backwards. Surely you can get in on some of that, take you back to your dream role as a quarterback. In your opinion, what's the best sports movie of all time?
Ooh, good question. Man, there's so many great ones. Hoosiers is one of my favorites.
So many good ones.
Field of Dreams.
Excellent one.
Also a good one.
Yeah. I don't know. I could go on and on, but
that's a strong top 2.
Yeah. I'll go with those two.
Those are great ones. No, there's not.
What about you?
What's
your favorite sports movie?
Remember the Titans is up there for me, and Angels in the Outfield. That's nostalgic for me. Okay. I do love that one. Yeah, it's not a bad one.
Yeah.
What about
that's
you?
a really good one. Remember the Titans is the first one immediately that I thought of.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a huge Denzel fan, but yeah, it's a long list of sports movies. Even Glory Road, I think, is underrated.
Ooh. League of Their Own, also all-timer.
League of Their Own.
There's
no crying in baseball.
Classic. It's a classic line. You can catch season 2 of Ransom Canyon on Netflix. It drops tomorrow, starring our friend here, Josh Duhamel. Josh, thanks so much for catching up with us, and we hope to have you on soon.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah,
thanks Josh.
Josh Duhamel joining us here on the program. But coming up next, it's been a Florida man in the news. We'll explain why coming up next.
The starting price for a low 4-star. So low 4-star would be, we could be talking the 350th best player in the country. $350,000.
So 300 to 400 individuals a year, let's say roughly, are getting a 4-star ranking. $350K on average. that feels correct.
I saw that number and I thought, it seems low.
My
that was my
look at
reaction.
Ross.
4th down and 4 for Jacksonville. Down a touchdown. 2 in motion for Edwards. 3-man, now 4-man rush. Launches end zone, far side, touchdown! Jaden Skoshak.
I mean, once again, rolling out, getting out of the pocket, avoiding the pressure, throwing on the run there, but great throw.
Yeah.
The Arizona Cardinals are not going to be, one, running a serious operation this year again, and then 2, like, they got absolutely bludgeoned. They opened this year with 9 games against all, like, almost Super Bowl contenders, and they only play 3 home games over that span. They have a late bye. We're going to see probably Carson Beck for the fantasy playoffs because they just won't have enough wins. The Arizona Cardinals are a team from a managed league standpoint. I'm not drafting any of their players.
Really, if you watch their motions, the motions are at different speed. That's been pretty fun.
Comes on and now with the quick pitch to the outside. That's not
Jinx.
fooling anybody as Hershot Davis picks him up and goes full body slam. Welcome to the WWE.
Spear, spear, spear. Oh man, take your pick. Was that Edge? Was that Goldberg? Was that Rhino?
Oh, that's Goldberg. That's Goldberg. Yeah, that's definitely Goldberg.
Now we just need to see a jackhammer after it.
Dolphins linebacker Jordan Brooks got a big payday. He agreed to a 3-year, $51.3 million extension with the Dolphins. That includes $35 million guaranteed. That came out yesterday from Adam Schefter. There is absolutely no doubt Jordan Brooks has been a tackling machine for a defense and for a team that needs production desperately. So, Justin, are you giving the Dolphins defense any chance to surprise this season, especially considering their new head coach, Jeff Hafley, was previously the defensive coordinator in Green Bay?
No. Last time I checked, you have to also play offense. And while they do have a fresh head coach who's going to be full of ideas, did a great job at Green Bay. And before he was at Green Bay, he was at Boston College. Jeff Hafley clearly is really good and exceptional on defense. But on offense, I'm very concerned. Tua is no longer there, but they bring in Malik Willis, who technically is still inexperienced. They give him a nice contract, but he doesn't really have any weapons to throw to. Do you know this, Caroline? In that more than half of the games last season, the Dolphins failed to go over 200 passing yards. If you don't watch football and you're watching this, let's just say this. That's terrible. Whether it be in real life or fantasy, the offense was bad. And I don't think the expectations are that high this year for the Dolphins. So while I think the defense, going back to your point, can make some noise, and that's a good extension signing for them, I don't think that the defense is going to be able to be equipped to hold down the fort. Whether it's 3 and outs or the offense isn't able to go into the red zone, it's going to be a lot of taxing time on the defense while they're out there. And no matter how good the defense is, if you're not giving them good field position, they can only do so much.
I mean, he led the NFL in tackles last year, and the Dolphins still lost 10 games. So why is this year supposed to be any different? What is he supposed to lead the league in tackles by a larger margin? Like, there's only so much that the man can do. And that's also considering that this offense lost a lot of playmakers. Malik Willis steps in as a starting quarterback. I don't know if Malik Willis is a starting quarterback in the NFL. He never has been. He very well could be. He could prove himself this season. But that's a question mark. You move on from Jalen Waddle, so you're losing one of the best wide receivers in the National Football League. So, I don't think that this is going to make a difference. And just because you pay a guy more doesn't mean that he's going to have more production. And he already had a bunch of production last season. So, I mean, good on him for the payday and good on the Dolphins for locking up a guy that's been, a huge for them in terms of production. But I don't think that that's necessarily going to come in the form of, a better win-loss record for the Dolphins. And if it does, what is it? What, you're going to go 8-9 and miss the playoffs again this year? Like, miss me with that. I think the Dolphins are more destined for the number 1 overall pick than they are for doing anything this season or making any sort of splashes in the postseason. But let's keep it going. We've got some Florida men in the news. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are considering trading for Shedeur Sanders to be Baker Mayfield's backup this season. Fansided's Justin Carter says 2 day 3 picks, allegedly, reportedly, for Shedeur likely gets it done, and Shedeur could be Baker's backup amid Baker Mayfield's contract talks with the Bucs. Can you get behind this idea? Are you liking this? Shedeur potentially to the Bay.
I do. From one struggling organization to another one that has been inept for a very long time. My nickname for the Cleveland Browns has always been "Can't Get Right." That team has struggled for the longest in terms of finding some type of consistency, just getting a winning season, just trying to get a quarterback. Sanders right there, if he wants to excel in the league, he's not going to be able to do it in Cleveland. Football and a lot of sports, Caroline, you'll agree to this, is you being a product of your environment. A lot of times you're able to give the team based off of what they surround you. And sometimes people are able to excel or they just stay pretty stagnant. And I don't think that he's in an environment right now. Going to Tampa Bay, it's a low risk move. Why not make the decision? You're still not sure if Baker is going to be your guy, very serviceable at quarterback. And if you look at the way the championship was just won by the Seattle I was about to say Supersonics because I want Seattle to get a football team, by the Seahawks, you just see how the championship was won. Sam Darnold was cool. He was pretty pedestrian, like JSN, excellent on the outside. We know the defense was the stalwart, and while they're able to win, I say make the move. That is certainly one of the easiest decisions I would do if I was Tampa Bay.
I mean, Cleveland is where quarterbacks' careers have gone to die. Don't believe me? Just ask Baker Mayfield, who has had a massive career renaissance since he's been in Tampa Bay. So I'm with you that maybe Cleveland is not the best place to evaluate the potential for a young quarterback. If you're saying 2 day 3 picks gets the deal done, this feels like a very low risk, high reward deal for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, it makes sense for Cleveland too, because clearly they're showing that he's not the guy. Clearly, Cleveland is preparing for their quarterback of the future. So, you move on from Shedeur, at least you clean out that quarterback room a little bit because it's a crowded quarterback room right now. And for Tampa, it's cheap insurance with a potentially high upside. I don't know if Shedeur Sanders can be a starting quarterback in the NFL, but clearly there is potential. Clearly we saw something there. So, if Shedeur doesn't turn out to be a starting quarterback, maybe Shedeur is just a career backup for however long he may remain in the NFL. Well, you gave up 2 day 3 picks to get him, and you get insurance there at the backup quarterback position. I don't hate it at all. I also think too, when Shedeur was drafted, a lot of the talk was, are you wanting to invite, the questions and the media circus that might come with Shedeur Sanders? I think that's kind of dissipated a little bit. I don't think that if Tampa Bay traded for Shedeur that it would be as big of a media circus, for lack of a better term, than maybe it was when he was initially drafted by the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I do think that no matter where Sanders goes, there's going to be attention. Remember, despite his
Definitely.
limited time on the field, he still had a top 10 selling jersey. Now, the Tampa market is probably a little bit more fitting or relaxing of an atmosphere versus Cleveland, who's super rabid. Yes, Tampa has a few Super Bowls, most recently with Tom Brady, and before that, a crazy defense with John Gruden. But still, I do think that this probably would be maybe a better environment for him, so things are a little bit more calm. So I think, yeah, I'd agree with that point. But no matter what, Sanders is going to control headlines. And I do think one final point about this is that if you do trade for Sanders, you do have to embrace how Baker is going to feel about it, A, and B, if that Tampa fan base would ever call for Baker to get out of there, and knowing that the backup is Sanders, give Sanders a chance.
Yeah. I mean, no doubt eyeballs are going to follow Shedeur wherever he goes. He just commands that type of presence. I just do feel like it's cooled off at least a little bit. It needed to cool off since his draft time because, I mean, that was ridiculous. Let's hit all 3 Florida teams, though. The fantasy chatter is already heating up. Some say Jacoby Myers, not Brian Thomas Jr., and not Parker Washington, is the Jags' best wide receiver going into the season. Justin, do you agree that Jacoby is Trevor's wide receiver 1?
I do agree it. And the very simple reason is because you got to follow the money. Jacoby just got a new deal. Usually the top man is going to be the bread earner, and that is going to be who's going to be targeted the most. So I think for fantasy implications, yes. Now, if we go from an analytical standpoint, and I'm not speaking about how many fantasy points that he put up, he's been very consistent. He's had a handful of seasons where he's been consistent in having at least 800 receiving yards. I do think that Myers also has one of the best catch rates in the NFL at 60%. Anytime he's targeted, that's up there with Michael Thomas when he was at his peak powers in this for the Saints, as you're fully aware, as that's your squad. Myers is going to be a great option for Trevor Lawrence. And I think what's probably even better for Jags fans watching this and hearing all those names, this is one of the best receiving cores that they've ever had. And I do think that there's so much possibility knowing that a few of the guys are coming off injury.
I'm not willing to give up on Brian Thomas Jr. Sure, last year was a quote unquote down year for him, but he still had over 700 yards receiving, coming off of more than 1,000 yards his rookie year. So I do see Jacoby Myers' big new contract, but I'm going to go Brian Thomas Jr. having a renaissance, so to speak, in year 3 of his career. All right, we'll take a quick break here. Coming up next, Scotty Pippen Jr. joins the show, breaking down all things Grizz.
The starting price for a low 4-star. So low 4-star would be, we could be talking the 350th best player in the country. $350,000.
So 300 to 400 individuals a year, let's say roughly, are getting a 4-star ranking. 350K on average? That feels correct.
I saw that number and I thought, it seems low.
My
that was my reaction.
Ross. 4th down and 4 for Jacksonville. Down a touchdown. 2 in motion for Edwards. 3-man, now 4-man rush. Launches end zone, far side, touchdown! Jaden Stoshak.
I mean, once again, rolling out, getting out of the pocket, avoiding the pressure, throwing on the run there, but great throw.
Yeah.
The Arizona Cardinals are not going to be, one, running a serious operation this year again, and then 2, like, they got absolutely bludgeoned. They opened this year with 9 games against all, like, almost Super Bowl contenders, and they only play 3 home games over that span. They have a late bye. We're going to see probably Carson Beck for the fantasy playoffs because they just won't have enough wins. The Arizona Cardinals are a team from a managed league standpoint. I'm not drafting any of their players.
Really, if you watch their motions, the motions are at different speed. That's been pretty fun.
Comes on and now with the quick pitch to the outside. That's not
Jinx.
fooling anybody as Hershot Davis picks him up and goes full body slam. Welcome to the WWE.
Spear, spear, spear. Oh, man. Take your pick. Was that Edge? Was that Goldberg? Was that Rhino?
Oh, that's Goldberg. That's Goldberg. Yeah, that's definitely Goldberg.
Now we just need to see a jackhammer after it.
Just lying here dreaming about Ty Jerome and Scotty Pippen Jr. entry passes to Cam Boozer in the post. That from Cam Boozer Muse on Twitter. So I think it is safe to say that Grizzlies fans are pumped and excited about the young core in Memphis. And we are lucky enough to be joined by one of the pieces of that young core, Scotty Pippen Jr. Scotty, thanks for being here. I really appreciate your time. I want to start there. Take me back to draft night just a couple of weeks ago, really. The Memphis Grizzlies take Cam Boozer. What was your reaction?
Yeah, I would say super excited. Cam Boozer is someone that I saw in college, develop a lot. And then, this last summer league, I was able to go and see him, up close and personal. So I'm super excited to have to play with him and get to see him grow as well. And I think, there's a lot in store for him, what he could do for our team and just, help us grow.
Yeah, Scotty, this is going to be a big season for the Grizzlies. You got obviously Cam Boozer now in the fold, and an opportunity for a lot of players like yourself at the point guard position, knowing that John Morant was traded. With you and Ty Jerome being fully healthy, how are you approaching this competition for extra minutes out there?
I think it's going to be a great opportunity for, a lot of our young players. I think, although we lost Ja, I think there's a lot of room for all of us to step up. we're all super hungry and super excited to show what we could do this season. A lot of teams and people are counting us out, and I think that's perfect for us because we get to just go out there and compete every night at a high level and show what we could do.
I want to get back to Cam Boozer for just a moment because you guys share an obvious similarity. Your dad had a very successful career in the NBA. So did Cam Boozer's dad, Carlos Boozer. So have you guys had any conversations about maybe some advice that your dads have given you, just having that same experience playing in the association?
Well, I haven't really given him any advice yet about that. I think he's doing just fine now. The way he's been able to, approach, his dad, being his dad, and for him to have the success he's had, I think he's doing just a, fine job on that. But throughout the season, I assume we'll probably have some talks about that, just about how our journeys were, somewhat similar, but somewhat different at the same time. So I think so.
Yeah, you
Which one are
mentioned there
you in
being
that
some.
photo? Sorry,
I
Justin.
think I was the one on the tallest one, the one on the right.
Oh, do you remember that
Yeah.
moment?
Yeah, I actually do remember that moment. I got that moment, tattooed on me as well. So it's definitely, a special one for me and my family and my dad as well. So
Oh, that's really dope. I love that family photo. Throwback indeed. And now you're suiting up for the Grizzlies. You were mentioning the parallels between you and Boozer. It feels like there's no better indicator for success or someone making to the league rather than the genetics and DNA from a former pro. So you and Boozer have that in common. Please peel back the curtain or tell us the cheat code. What is it about that fabric and having a former pro that you're learning from in your dad that has allowed you to be able to get this opportunity and live out your dreams in the NBA?
yeah, well, I think obviously having a dad in the NBA helps. I don't think there's any cheat code to it. I don't think it's, a ticket to the NBA as well. It's because, we still have to go out there, put in the work. We still have to go out there and grind every day. At the end of the day, our dads are, whatever, are not on the court with us or not at the workouts with us, actually doing the drills. But definitely just having someone with that experience, that knowledge that you can go home to every day and, train with and just have them in your ear is definitely something that's super helpful that, I as a kid definitely took advantage of and still take advantage of.
And your dad is not the only NBA great that you've been able to learn from. You also played for another NBA great in Jerry Stackhouse in both of your times at Vanderbilt. What's one lesson that he maybe taught you that you've taken into the NBA?
Yeah, Stackhouse, he taught me a lot. I think it's the toughness he coached with and the toughness that came from playing under him. I think that's the main thing I took away from him. He was a super intense coach, super detail oriented, and I think that just continued to carry with me throughout my career, just knowing that um, as a guard my size, my position, and all the things I had to go through in my career, just knowing that I always had to be tough and just come with it every night.
Scotty, you've been in the league for a few years now. Do you have a welcome to the NBA moment that humbled you?
I don't think I had a welcome to the NBA moment. I think I had more so like surreal moments that like I'm really here. I think my first game in the NBA, when I was with the Lakers, it was the Warriors ring ceremony night or something like that. So I think just being there and just seeing, LeBron and Curry and all these guys that like I grew up watching and finally being, a president, seeing the Warriors get their rings and just being in a Lakers uniform, I think that was kind of like my welcome to the NBA, but just kind of seeing it up close and personal was like a surreal moment to me.
You mentioned wearing a Lakers uniform. You shared a Lakers uniform with LeBron James. I don't know if you heard this, but I know Grizzlies fans heard it. They felt some type of way about it. LeBron said that Memphis was his least favorite road game city, so there wasn't anything to do in Memphis. What do you have to say about that?
I disagree with that. I think LeBron could say, what he thinks, it's a little bit different for him, but my time in Memphis has been nothing but great. The fans, the people there have been, embraced me since I've been there. Um, every time I, suit up for that, city, I feel the love, I feel the, energy in the crowd and stuff like that. And as far as the city, it's, it's a little bit slower than LA, obviously, but, still some pockets and a lot of things you could do once you, get familiar. So, maybe eventually LeBron comes and see some of these, great things Memphis has to offer.
All right,
So
since you
if he
mentioned
does come back
LeBron,
to
got to get.
Memphis, oh, sorry,
But
Justin. But if LeBron does come back to Memphis, if you had a full day to show LeBron around, make him fall in love with Memphis, what would be your itinerary? Where are you taking the king?
I would take him to some food spots, stuff like that. I don't want to give up my full itinerary because I don't want people, taking on my spots. But, if LeBron ever needs places in Memphis, he could definitely hit me up.
All right, Scotty, I got to end with this because we spoke about this off camera. Why don't you have a favorite food?
Why would I? I feel like every day I might crave something new. So why would I pick something I like and then, people kind of associate that meal to me. I think my favorite meal just changes every once in a while, depending on what I'm craving. Sometimes I'm for this, or sometimes I'm more for that. So, it always
We got
changes.
to workshop that answer. I'm going to let it slide, though.
I'll have an answer for you next time. I'll have an answer for you.
You mentioned LeBron James, and of course, your dad had a very long and successful career with Michael Jordan. The GOAT debate is one that has existed for a long time and one that I don't think is going anywhere. But I think that you have a really unique perspective in that debate. Who is your greatest of all time?
I don't have a greatest all the time. I think that question is kind of hard to decide just because both of them are great in their own aspects. I think there's multiple players that were great in their era, dominated their era. So I think you would have to ask someone that, seen Michael and then also someone that's seen LeBron. For me, I kind of only saw LeBron. I didn't really see, MJ or my dad's era. But I think, both of them, I could say both of them are the GOAT. I don't want to take away greatness from either one of them just because they both were dominant. They both, did what they needed to do and, both had great careers.
And we're talking about Memphis. Of course, everyone's very excited about the young core that you guys have and the season that you have coming up. But John Morant was just traded this, just a couple of weeks ago. What was your reaction when you saw that Ja was traded?
Yeah, my initial reaction was kind of, the same as everyone else. I would say shocked, but at the same time, kind of saw it coming at the same. But obviously, that's someone that I was really close with on the team and someone I, could talk to every day. So my relationship with him doesn't change. But as far as the team and going forward, I think there's, a lot more opportunity for me and some of the other guys. We look at it as someone that, kind of put the, Memphis back on the map and, put the franchise, back there. So I think they're trying to, change the narrative on Memphis and the team and going forward, a lot of opportunity for the young guys, myself to grow.
Scotty, you mentioned some guys doubting you. What's your elevator pitch going into this season for why people should be locked in on the Grizzlies?
I would say, I think we made a lot of noise the last couple of years. Obviously, we had some injuries, but, the year before that, we were, one of the top teams at a certain point. So I think for me, just getting healthy and the rest of the team getting healthy, we have a lot of guys that missed last season due to injury. And I think once we get healthy, I think we're going to be a dangerous team to beat.
It's going to be awesome to watch your journey. It's been amazing watching your journey to this point. It's going to be so much fun to watch this edition of the Memphis Grizzlies this upcoming season. Scotty Pippen Jr., thank you so much for your time and good luck this year.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Scotty Pippen Jr., Memphis Grizzlies, hanging out with us here on the show. Coming up next, Keegan-Michael Key did it better, but can I do it just maybe a little bit closer to him? Can I do it like he does? Collegian or concoction coming up next.
My sister told me, be careful what you wish for because you might get it. I did. And now it's about, well, what goals are, what's left on the table? I want Street Fighter to be a massive success. I want to do more Guile, but also I want to do more film. I want to do more TV. There's seats on, on the Georgia political scene that are open. Is that a road? Or is this the road to stay with something I love so much like wrestling? And I love this. I don't know how I'd say bye to it.
Sharks down 10. Third down and 10 from the 19. Edwards steps up. Now he's in trouble. And Edwards sacked. Back at the 17. And once again, it's Devontae O'Malley. And flipped into the end zone. Touchdown. A thing of beauty. DeLaurent for Murray with a late pitch over the top, end over end. And a Pirates touchdown.
If you are a check writer at one of these places that has achieved success historically in college football, and you are ideologically opposed to your check going directly to Rev, to paying the players, with the ideology of, well, we didn't have to do this back when. When you hear we didn't used to have to do this amongst boosters, go ahead and order the gravestone for your football program.
Still Barnes in there. No Jared Ware on this drive yet. Roberts against the blitz, goes to the end zone for Keon Williams. Easy as you like. 16-yard touchdown.
There's Keon Williams. Tried to go to him in the last drive on that fourth down play to the end zone. Good defense by Orlando, but that time able to shake free to the corner.
Welcome back into Yahoo Sports Daily. We've got SEC Media Days going on in Tampa, Big Ten Media Days last week. I was at ACC Media Days last week, so I'm getting the college football fever. I'm ready for it, Justin. I can feel it. It smells like football outside. So we're going to do a game that we like to do here called Collegian or Concoction. We actually did it for the first time with the mayor of names, Keegan-Michael Key. And he crushed it. I think he got every single one right. We may have stumped him on just one or two. But we'll see if we can get every single one right. We don't need Keegan-Michael Key to play this game, although it is more fun with him. So our producers gave us a list of names. And we have to decide, is that an actual college football player's name? Or is this just something that they concocted in the production room? You ready for it?
All right, let's do it. I'm intrigued.
Let's get it. Let's get it. We have to mutually agree. So we can debate this back and forth. We can discuss amongst ourselves, but we do have to agree. First one, Prayer Young Blackcoat. Is that a collegian or a concoction? I know this one. Prayer Young Blackcoat is a collegian.
We're a team. So, like, if you know this one, so let's go. I'm actually thinking that it's a real name because of
It's
Prayer.
a real name.
He is. It is. All right. Collegian.
He plays for Arizona State. Yeah, Prairie Young Blackcoat is a real guy. I mean, like, how do you not know if that's a real person or not? Like, if they're that's just not a name that you come up with. Prairie Young.
Shout out to Black Goat.
Black Goat. Black Goat. Prairie Young Black Goat. Nobody can come up with that. That has to be real.
All right, 1 for 1.
And it has to be a linebacker name too. Like, that's you're not gonna be. It's maybe like a DB name. But that's a
There's
great
so many NIL
okay.
deals from that name.
Oh my God. Speaking of that, I'll never forget, there was a former wide receiver who played at my alma mater, and then I think he transferred to Nebraska. His name was DeColdest to Evaduit Crawford. And he got an NIL deal.
And he had one with the AC, with the HVAC.
Yeah, like with an HVAC company.
I was only thinking of the coldest. Yeah, that was dope.
Perfect. The coldest to ever do it. Yeah, it's just chef's kiss there. All right, let's go to our second name. Crush with a K, Johnson. Crush Johnson. Is that a collegian or a concoction?
I feel like it's believable. Crush Johnson, I could definitely see being someone's real name. I feel like they're trying to stump us, but I'm going to say it's a name. What do you think?
I agree with you. I think that's a collegian, and I like that they're taking the Kardashian approach, dropping the C, adding a K. I think Crush Johnson might be a collegian. Are we ready to put that one in?
That's our final answer.
Collegian, that's our final answer. Woo! Crush
2 for 2.
Johnson,
Here we go.
Defensive lineman out of Texas Tech. That's an epic name. And if you're a quarterback, can
Especially
you imagine?
on defense?
Yeah. Can you imagine getting sacked by a guy named Crush? That's awesome. That is epic.
Also,
there we go.
What if you weren't swole and you were skinny and your name was Crush? That'd be a terrible disservice to a child. You just can't, right? You just can't. Like, your arc as a human, you have to hit the gym if your name is Crush.
Like, and Prayer Young Black Goat. Like, if those are your names, you can't just, like, be a skinny, itty-bitty little thing. Like, you have to, whatever it might be, whether you're, like, the smartest person in your class or like the most swole person, whatever it is. Like, you have to just be epic. You can't just be average and be named Crush with a K. There's no way.
Imagine going to IT. What's your name? Prairie Young Black Oak.
And it's like, sorry, one more. Could you spell that out for me?
With a P?
Prayer with a P.
All right, we're two.
I'll never forget, too. Speaking of my alma mater, there was a former LSU baseball player. His name was Blake Money. Thank you. And his little brother's name is Cash. So his name is Cash Money. So you have to, if your name is Cash Money, you can't be walking around like that with just, an average Joe.
You can't be broke. Translation.
Definitely cannot be broke. Definitely
The jokes write
not.
themselves.
They really do. All right, let's keep it rolling here. We are 2 for 2, and I have a feeling we're going to go 3 for 3. Number 3, Drewby Dubido, and that is Dubido spelled E-A-U-X. I feel like this is in my wheelhouse. That's not a real person.
Really? I was actually thinking it might be a real person, but I'm going to lean on you. I'm a first timer. I'm going to say that, so it's not collegian then.
It would be a concoction.
Concoction. Yeah. All right. Oh, man. All right. Let's go. I believe in you. I believe in us. We're 3 for 3.
I don't think
concoction.
That's real. It's a concoction.
All right.
Just say anybody named Drewby Dubido is probably playing college football in the state of Louisiana, and that is not a name that I recognize.
I could see a person lining up and being a Drewby. I could see it.
Drewby Dubido, if he was real, would have to be an offensive lineman, right?
Yeah. Drewby definitely feels like you're on the line. Yeah. You can't be the quarterback or a skill position. Maybe the only other, I could see a Drewby being a safety, but maybe that's it.
I could see that. But yeah, I'm just picturing Drewby Dubido is like north of 300 pounds, absolute unit, and nobody is touching his quarterback. All right, let's keep it rolling here. Number 4, 3 for 3. Let's keep it going. The good vibes. Otto Jans van Rensburg. Is that a collegian or a concoction?
Collegian, and he's not American.
Really? Definitely not American. That is not an American name. I don't know. Otto Jans van Rensburg? That sounds like a character.
Actually, concoction maybe. It sounds more like a painter. Maybe you think I'm thinking about Van Gogh.
Yeah, like a philosopher. Sounds
but
like
I could see this being a punter. I could see this being a
Glory.
punter or a kicker.
Oh.
That's why.
That's a very good point. He could be like an Australian punter.
Precisely the country I was thinking about.
Your
I don't want to
gut
mess up
told
the
you
flow.
collegian.
My gut told me collegian, but I was also wrong on the last one.
Let's go collegian then. We'll follow your gut. Let's go.
Let's go.
Offensive lineman.
Lineman.
Van Rensburg. I was definitely feeling Australian punter. There we go. 4 for 4. We're crushing it. All right, let's keep it rolling to number 5. Go Blue Raiders. All right, number 5. Heinz Getwelvet.
Also not American.
That's a German name if I've ever heard one. I'm gonna go concoction.
Yeah.
I don't know how many.
Yeah, let's go. We've had a good system
one football
going.
player I can think of with the name Heinz, and it was not spelled that way.
Yeah, I feel like we would have known about this catch-up NIL deal. Yeah.
You are so right. It's definitely a concoction. Definitely concoction. Oh, was that his name in Ace Ventura? Heinz Getwelvet? Makes sense. Pet detective.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
it.
Wow, that's so long ago.
I didn't realize it either. I know, it's a great movie though. All right, let's keep it rolling. 5 for 5. Let's make it 6 for 6. Rocky Beers. This is a real person. He is the younger brother of Rowdy and Reagan Beers. Reagan Beers, basketball player.
Reagan is great. Yeah, the
Reagan's
basketball
awesome.
player, right?
He's a baller.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And his older brother, Rowdy Beers, I think he started his career at Oklahoma. I don't know where he is now. The Beers family. I mean, when your last name is Beers, you have to name your sons Rowdy and Rocky. Like, there's just, you can't just be like a Michael or a Steve. You have to have, a name like that. So Rocky Beers, real person. Justin, we are crushing it. Let's keep the good vibes going. Tank King. That's a real person.
That has to be.
I do know that is a real person. I don't remember where he plays.
But they cannot tank their life away. They have to.
That's true.
This is like a linebacker or a running back.
Yeah, this has to be. Or like a defensive lineman. You can't be like a scrawny little receiver named Tank. But yes, this is a real person.
Linebacker.
Linebacker. A&M just makes sense too. If your name is Tank King.
I was literally thinking the same thing. The shoe fits.
Definitely. It was either like a big time college football program like an A&M or an Oregon, or like a BFE middle of nowhere school that you've never heard of before in your life, and there was no in between. Let's keep it rolling though. We're absolutely just knocking this out of the park. Number 8, Christos Knipple.
I'm saying collegian. All of his brothers' names also start with a K, but I cannot remember them. We just hope. I'm pretty sure it has to be collegian. Yeah. I'm saying collegian, but I don't remember.
The only reason why
do
I
they have to be in college?
Yes. Yeah,
they
these are college football player names.
These are all college. No, then it has to be concoction because his brothers play basketball.
And Christos is a Greek name. Knipple is a German name.
But everyone in his family, all his brothers have a K name. So that's why it's tricky. So let's go concoction, fake.
I think it's concoction.
Nice.
There goes that man. We're doing it again.
We're crushing it. Answered the right question. Because I was like, there's no way if it's only football players. If it was basketball players, it'd have been tough. But yeah. His family, all they do is play basketball. And all the brothers also have K names. Nice.
Although Khan's huge. Like, Khan could be a tight end if he wanted to be, but that's a basketball family through and through. All right, let's keep it rolling. Legend Bay. I think it's Bay. I also think that's a real person. I think that's, he plays for like Baylor or I don't remember what team, but Legend Bay is a real person.
I can see someone naming their child Legend. And yeah, I've heard of Bay as a last name before. So let's go collegian. Oh my gosh.
Ohio State. Legend at Ohio State. Absolutely insane. All right, let's get another one in here. Jabron Lammez. I know that this is a Mike Goldfarb concoction because he's got LeBron James on the brain. This is a concoction.
Yeah. Without a doubt. Like, it's very simple.
This next one, we may be paying a little bit of an homage to our friend Jason Fitz, because this next one, Fernando Fitz. I think that's a concoction, but if Fernando Mendoza does get the Raiders to the Super Bowl, Fitz's firstborn child very well may be named Fernando. So it's a concoction for now, but it could be Fitz's son in the future.
It definitely is a concoction because I promise you heard from Jason if his starting quarterback or future quarterback had Fernando's name and his last name. Absolutely. But they tried us. Did we ace this?
I think what we just went 11 for 11, undefeated, absolutely flawless. And you know what else is absolutely flawless? Is Yahoo Fantasy College Football. Perhaps draft some of these names that we just mentioned and play Yahoo Fantasy College Football. That's right, all of us college football sickos' prayers have been answered. Drafts open on August 3rd and scoring starts with week 1 on September 3rd. Get started now by creating a league with your crew or joining a public league to play against other fans. I know I am absolutely fired up for Yahoo College Fantasy Football, and I think that you all should be too. For Justin Walters, I am Caroline Fenton. We will be back again tomorrow. Of course, there's going to be some LeBron watch, so enjoy your Wednesdays, enjoy your days, enjoy your afternoons. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more breakdown.
LeBron James.